G'day, people. Carlos here. Today we're going to, as usual, do two articles, and I have a guest here today, MARTIVS. FILIVS, how are you, my friend?
What's up, people? Always a pleasure to be here, Carlos. And as you know, I am a pretty big archaeology nerd myself. So, but I don't do it professionally. I am a pure layman. So that is why I am here, folks, to ask the dumbass questions that the chat is too afraid to ask.
Awesome, awesome. We shall have some fun. You guys know that I'm a really crappy communicator, and I actually engage people better when I'm answering questions. I operate better that way. When I do monologues, I tend to be a bit boring. I'm going to try and work on my comedic skills. So I'm going to try and not imitate. I'm going to try and imitate the style of a few of the funnier people that we have in our YouTube community. I won't need to say who they are, but get a bit of vibe into it. I was told yesterday in Marty's stream I should do that. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Marty hasn't seen what I'm going to do yet, so it's as much as a surprise as it is to the people who are watching. So I'm going to share the screen. This one, get it big. Oops, wrong one. Get it big. There we go. And we have here an article from quite a prestigious science journal magazines, Psy.org. They usually have good, very, very good articles, very scientifically accurate and all that. I follow them because they have a lot of archaeological papers and articles and news stories. But I found this one. And I have a big problem with this one. I'm going to read it. I want everyone who's listening, and Marty as well, if they can spot the glaringly obvious error. This will also test the people who follow me, who look at my streams. I've mentioned what I'm going to talk about on nearly every stream I do. So let's see how sharp you guys are. So let's start.
All right. Oh, sorry.
No. Go on.
Oh, as I'm reading through what you're presenting so far, I see modified their survival strategies even without external influences. That I would like to call bullshit on that because humans are, we wouldn't need to modify our survival strategies without anything external, i.e., excuse me, like just hanging out in the sun doesn't need much modification. So, and unless something changes that, they're going to keep hanging out in the sun.
Yes, that's a possibility, but I have an article in the description that sort of confirms that. Not from the sites that they have used, but from another site, and it's the let's see, what is it? It's this one. Nope. I'm trying to find it because I should have had the links. Here we go. It's from Popular Archaeology. I'll put it up so everyone can see. I'll have to get this down. Oops, wrong article. It's this one here. So let's bring that one up. Well, yes, it confirms what you said, but again, yes, it does. Neanderthals change hunting strategies with climate change. So yes, you found one, Marty.
Yes. Well, that has nothing to do with anything archaeological. Just based off human interaction. Humans don't. I may be an extreme case, but a lot of humans don't like change unless out of necessity. I mean, I'm an extreme.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an extreme case. I sometimes don't even like change out of necessity.
No, people tinge. We are not seeing that now, but yeah, but that's not the error. That's not the most glaring, obvious error. I'll read it. Well, you said an external influence such as environment and climate change. Using new methods, the team was able to show by means of carbonate isotope of fossilized teeth about 250,000 years ago, the ancestors of modern man were more advanced in their development than previously thought. The new results are expected to aid the understandings of development of modern humans. The study was recently published in the scientific journal Quaternary Science Review. I suggest you guys, it's not click there, but I'll put it into the description. Now, if climate became cooler or warmer, species were forced to adapt their survival strategies. This also holds true to our ancestors, the extinct Neanderthals. We are now discovered that Neanderthals were able to advance in their development even in the absence of external influences. I'll stop right there. So I'll just. Does anyone catch from the two paragraphs which I've read? That's one of the glaring faults of this article. Now, what's the second one?
Let's see. If the climate becomes cooler, warmer species are forced to adapt to their survival strategies. This also holds true for our ancestors, the extinct Neanderthal. Well, the Neanderthals aren't our ancestors. Well, primarily not our ancestors.
They are not our ancestors. You got it. Yes, that's it. I will show you who our ancestors are. And we go here to the Smithsonian Institute, the Smithsonian National Museum of History of Museum, what it is to become human. We have all the hominins that they knew up until the date this page was refreshed. And we have here Homo neanderthalensis. If you can guys see him, this guy. He lived around 400,000 to 40,000 years ago from Europe to Southwest and Central Asia. All right, but he's not our ancestor. I've said it before. Our ancestor, most likely, the percentage, the veracity of the data that at the moment we have points to, is Heidelbergensis. This guy. See if it opens up. Come on, here we go. He lives from 700,000 to 200,000 years ago. And where? Europe, possibly Asia, Africa, Eastern and Southern. So he is our most glaring candidate for our ancestor. Not just ours, I've said it before, Neanderthals, Denisovians, us, and the fourth one that we don't know of, only from the Andaman Islanders genetic genetic genome, that they have an unknown human species, not Denisovan and not Neanderthal. So yes, you see, this article is good, but it's glaringly bad as well. So he goes on to say that they were more similar to modern humans than we previously assumed. Of course they are. That's been set in stone, that the Neanderthals were very, very similar to human beings, even genomically, to about 99% difference. Because we have up to, modern Europeans have up to 4% Neanderthal DNA in them. So we have it there. So the Dr. Hervé Boschrens of the Senckenberg Center of Human Evolution and Paleoenvironment at the University of Tübingen. It is glaringly bad, this article. Neanderthals were not our ancestors, and the article that I have here from Israel, from the Armud cave in Israel, it basically debunks what they're trying to say, that the Neanderthals did modify their strategy, their hunting strategy, their behavior because of climate change. Here's the cave where it looks like modern day. just so you guys can see. It's I have this article in the description, so it's easier to read it at your leisure. But this one debunks it, and it's an actual study. But even here, another one which I've mentioned before about the Denisovans. You see the 3 red dots, which are the unknown. This area here, they are the unknown hominin, a race of humans that interbred with a race of our race, Homo sapiens sapiens. And this map just shows. So I don't know how whoever allowed this to be published. Can't find the provided by this Schenkenberg research. It's bad. I don't want to spend too much time because Jesus, it's bad. This is really bad. This is basically mainstream media level of scientific journalism, like the Telegraph article on a hominin that was discovered in Bulgaria and Greece 7.2 million years ago, being our direct ancestor. Notwithstanding that I already made a video on that last week, so check it out, people. Most of them have. Hello, Modwayne.
Oh shit! What's up, Modwayne?
Modwayne, BJ Price, and Warped, as always. Thank you guys for coming along. Yeah, more people are streaming, but never mind. We've covered quite a bit. So
Yes,
we've established that how bad journalism works. Don't you reckon, Marty?
Very much so.
Yeah. Now, this one's basically what I wanted to talk about, because this one really, I didn't like this article at all. Just caught me, and I had to do it. But my real interest, I'll just close the windows. My real interest is this story here. From Science, from the American Anthropological Association, American Anthropological Association, or AS something, Science, I don't know. This is a really, really good site, a really good scientific journal. And we have here a study of the earliest evidence of dog breeding found on a remote Siberian island. This is not domestication we're talking about here. This is post-domestication.
Really?
Yeah. This is for just get something. The hunters of Zhukov Island were very hardy. 9,000 years ago. That's the key thing. 9,000 years ago, it is known from the archaeological evidence, record, and material that we domesticated the dog further west from this site, but still in more or less the general Siberian area, 33,000 years ago, more or less. The wolf, we domesticated the wolves. They were not very different morphologically than the wild wolves. There were very small differences, minute differences, that for the first couple of thousand years they would have been indistinguishable from the wild wolves. And how do you domesticate an animal? You catch the pups and raise them. It's quite it's not a very difficult process to do. You get the wolf pups, and you raise them, knowing that Wolverine. That's the word I wanted to get at. Wolverine social structures. Yes, they do have a social structure. Are very, very, very similar to ours. They have the alpha male and female wolves, which are the breeding pair. Then they have the betas, which basically hunt, take care of their pups, and or every menial, and help along. They can't breed, and if they do breed, the alpha male will kill the the beta male that tried to breed, and the female is expelled.
Yes, yes, that is
So,
the wolf's unique trait. Only the alphas are allowed to breed. Very interesting adaptation.
because it's basically because of the survival of the fittest, the alpha male and female are the strongest ones there to produce the strongest pups.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they do adopt outside females, but they never adopt outside males. The males are always expelled if they ever try to challenge the. They're not outright killed. If they try to challenge the alpha male's dominance, he will fight. If he's not outright killed, then he's expelled. He's expelled to form or try to form a colony, which is very hard because wolves, as you know, from the American timber wolf and American grey wolf and etc., their territories. They have fixed territories, and each pack has its own one. There's very little space between adjoining packs, which a lone wolf could interact. The females have it easier, but the males they are destined to die. That's a little bit of background. Did I get it right, Marty? Because the Wolf Society, we have here some wolves, but I've not studied them as in depth as I don't know.
Well, I have not studied them per se. I do have a passing interest in, well, slightly more than a passing interest in them. But yeah, you pretty much have the basics of the Wolf Society down, from what I would say. But then again, I am pretty much only an expert in like 3 things. So I am by no means an authority on wolves.
Well, me neither. So we are at equal on that. My authority, quote unquote. I'm not. I know a lot of archaeology because I read, and languages. I already said I speak a few languages, but that's just secondary. So the article they analysed the canine bones from the Zhukov suggests that dogs were bred to pull sleds, making this the first evidence by thousands of years of dog breeding in the archaeological record. Now, Zhukov Cave or Zhukov Island is in the Arctic, as it says here. It appears that these ancient Arctic dwellers. I honestly haven't. Well, there's a picture of it below. See the tundra. It is a tundra.
Yes,
that's the archaeological site. Let's see. This would have been a camp, but they would have been still hunter-gatherers, most likely, in that area at 9,000 years ago, as they are today, unless they breed reindeer.
Really?
And so, well, they did pursue. It says here. I'm reading this as well. I read superficially. I didn't get into the things, but back in the day, Zhukov wasn't always an island. When Stone Age people lived there, before the sea rose, it was connected to Siberia. They had polar bears to deal with, which mostly hunted in winter, obviously. The Zhukovians pursued reindeer hundreds of kilometers across the vast plains, so they were hunters. They were not gatherers yet. They were not pastoralists, you say, which is domestication, which is agriculture. Quite a real term is agriculture. So, well, they needed transport, and Vladimir Pitulenko, the Russian archaeologist from the Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg, has been excavating Zhukov since 89. And we know that they pulled the sleds because the dog bones were in association with wooden sleds, the remains of wooden sleds. That is an association. It's not by all means conclusive, because the sleds could have been also pulled by humans, and the dogs could have been used for tracking. That is my interpretation of what I've just read. And a possibility. We have to look at possibilities. But the interesting thing is, the canines, they were indeed dogs. By this time, 20,000 years of selective breeding, we have actual proof that the dog had split from the wolf's ancestor.
Okay.
And they still would have been very much wolf-like in appearance, like the husky, most likely.
Oh yeah. What we now know is a dog didn't come till much later, after many generations of various forms of breeding and domestication.
Canis lupus familiaris, yeah. I have to know these shit, because we talk a lot about in my job about the wolf. We have I have in my general area about 4 wolf packs of the Iberian wolf.
Really?
And yeah.
Nice.
And my auntie has a dog, a local breed. In fact, it's a Castro Liberato dog. They're shepherd dogs, and every time they howl exactly like the wolves do. This breed of dog, and he hears them and he starts howling at the wolves. So I know that when wolves are howling, I can't hear them, but he can, which is really. But I have heard them howl 3 years ago.
Sweet.
We were fixing a burst main in our path, the village men, and suddenly my auntie's dog and my dog started howling. And I said to the people, "Look, wait a sec." Everyone went quiet, and from the range that I have about 500 meters from my house, we heard the howling of the wolf. Oh man, the sound was fucking awesome. It was, the hairs in the back of your neck just went up. They tingled on that. It was just beautiful. So let's get back to the reading.
Yes, sir.
The archaeologist, what's his name again? Pitulko. He tried to figure out what the Zhukov dogs looked like. They extrapolated, his team, the size of the fossil bones of 11 individuals. 10 of the dogs must have weighed between 16 and 25 kilograms. That's not a very light. That's quite a medium size to the husky-sized dogs, don't you think? I don't know how much the husky weighs, though.
You cut out for me for a second.
Oh, sorry.
No.
They said that they weighed between 16 and 25 kilograms, and they must have resembled Siberian huskies. Yeah, so they would have been husky-sized, those dogs, because they can reconstruct them.
Really?
They can. Can reconstruct anything from the bone structure. First, you build up the skeleton. We know the mass of bones, of muscles from the bones. So from the bones. You've seen Fifth Element, right?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. How they rebuild.
Exactly. Yeah, they start with the bones, and then they build the layers outwards. That is exactly how we now paleo artists do that. And I've showed you I've showed you and everyone the reconstructions of the faces of our ancestors, the hominin ancestors. I'll bring them up again, because where is it? Here we go. We know that these are actual the ones that where I'm excuse me, where I'm highlighting for the mouse, these are actual reconstructions from the bones that we have here, So the ones that we have that aren't reconstructed yet are still artist impressions, because we don't have enough material, fossil material, to build the complete reconstruction. But most of them we have. Paranthropus bosei, this one, Sahelanthropus chadensis. That's the one I spoke about last week on that Greekopithecus, something, I can't remember the second name.
Pardon me.
I feel that they were very closely related, Sahelanthropus and the Greek Bulgarian hominin that they recently discovered. They are very, very contemporary. Sahelanthropus is 7 million years, the oldest fossil, and the ones in Greece are 7.2. So they are within range, and you can see here the ranges. See, Sahelanthropus, they have it here. The Greek one is just below, just a little bit below this line. If you can go see where I have my mouse button, my mouse.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's it doesn't prove that we evolved from Greek hominins. No, it just proves that a range of hominins were in Africa and Europe more or less at the same time. So
yeah. Funny thing about that chart you got right there.
Oh,
if you wouldn't mind,
I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So,
if you want me,
just the thing that catches my eye is how successful the Homo erectus was.
Oh yes.
I mean,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, like that's almost 2 million years of existence.
Yes, and that's what is absolutely surprising, that they were examples of Homo erectus so close to our time, 150, 160,000 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And we see a few others, not as successful, but pretty close. Your Homo heidelbergensis, your
Paranthropus bosei.
Yes, sir.
He was quite successful. And Australopithecus africanus, which is basically the sister species or cousin of Australopithecus afarensis.
One final question just about that chart. Is there a legend to what the colors mean?
Sort of. Let's see. Australopithecines are one group of hominins. You have afarensis, Afarensis, Gardi. Then you have the Paranthropi grouping. They were basically fruit, like the gorillas. They were herbivores, fruit eaters, and nut eaters. They had really massive jaws, as you can see from Robustus bosei. Look at the size of their jaws. They were the crush hard materials, leaves, and that. Then you have the Homo, us, our lineage.
Yep, we are a bunch of homos.
Yes, we are. But there's one missing though. Naledi. He's still not here. So this chart's a bit outdated. And the new one, the Greekopithecus. He would be Greekopithecus would possibly be and the one here, the Sahelanthropus. This the green ones.
Gotcha. From how their primary name, I'm not sure what they call the name that's the Homo or the Australopithecus. Thank you. But it seems that their names are different. So I assume that green would be like unclassified.
No, they're not. They're well, they're not Australopithecus or Paranthropus. They're another form. Like you have the gibbons. This is modern. What we have, an analogy of what we have in the modern world. Let's say the gibbons, the orangutans, the gorillas, and the chimpanzees. Australopithecines would have been more similar. I'm not saying they exactly. It's not absolutely not saying they're exactly the same, but similar classification, right? So we have the chimpanzees, which could represent the Australopithecines. We have the Paranthropus, which would be the gorillas and the orangutans. And then we have the Sahelanthropus, the ones in green, which could represent the gibbons. They are still all great apes, but you can see that they are variations. They're very different to each other. They have different ranges. They would have, etc. That's how at the moment. The green ones, they're still in flux on where they're going to be put, because Bosei used to be an Australopithecus.
Really?
Paranthropus bosei, when I was studying archaeology in the 90s, he was Australopithecus bosei, and Australopithecus robustus, and Australopithecus aethiopticus. He was in Ethiopia. That's where he came from. So this Paranthropus group used to be Australopithecus group, but they were the robust Australopithecus with the gracile Australopithecus. But since then, they've split into their own group. While the green ones, we haven't yet, because most of them are so new. The Sahelanthropus and Ardipithecus and Oranin tugensis and Ardipithecus ramidus, they were discovered in the late 90s, early 200s.
Wow. Fucking hell. Like, you know, that is probably the coolest thing about history and archaeology and anthropology and all that stuff. For having been around for, you know, thousands, tens of thousands, fucking millions of years, we're still adding stuff to our huge catalog of what we know, and we still haven't even, you know, filled the bucket yet. We are just a few drops into that great bucket of everything that has ever existed. It's a pretty amazing thing.
Oh, absolutely. We are living, archaeologists and anthropologists are living in the golden age. There has not been as many significant discoveries since the early 60s, when the Leakeys discovered Lucy, which is Australopithecus afarensis, by the way.
Oh, of course. And it's funny. All right, so I'm going to do this one time just because it's funny.
Go on, man.
In the chat, I just deleted your message because I always wanted to delete someone's message on their own channel.
No worries, man. No worries. Absolutely. All is absolutely cool. Like I said, we are living in the golden age. In 3 years, this is 3 years. We are at the current year, 2017. In 2013, 14, we discovered the Denisovans. No, that was 2010. I'm sorry, 2010. Denisovans, right? A completely different cousin of ours, a race of humans.
That is awesome.
It's so new, we haven't settled on the name yet. It's almost been settled. It's going to be a Denisovan, because everyone uses Denisovan. But they were thinking of Homo sapiens altai, because he was found in the Altai ranges of a cave in Siberia, the Altai Mountains, in the Denisovan cave of the Altai Mountains. So yeah, it settles itself basically. But last year or 2 years ago, we found Homo naledi in South Africa. I covered him 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We didn't know about that hominin. And do you know what's the most funny thing about his date?
Did he forget to buy her flowers first?
Possibly. But Yeah, he probably did. And the chocolates, the mongrel, he didn't know how to treat well his missus. But they dated the finds of I think it's Lone Star Cave. Crap at names, but in South Africa, in the Lady Complex, in the Lady Chamber of the Lone Star Cave system. He lived to contemporary with us, Homo sapiens, modern Homo sapiens.
Oh, that is so cool. Like you know, as we are the most open quotes advanced great apes, I always love hearing about our contemporary cousins, at least from thousands of years ago.
Yeah, and most, even as much surprisingly, I've already covered this. They actively buried their dead, right? Because
Nice.
yeah, they haven't. They're looking for a possible other entrance to the cave, because where they had to crawl down into that chamber, you had to crawl spaces which are 60 to 70 centimeters high, the spaces. So you had to be on your stomach to actually crawl into that space, to the chambers. There's two chambers, big chambers.
Yeah.
And they found
Now,
the
oh, sorry. Please go ahead.
no, what do you want to say? I can continue, no worries.
Oh, I was just curious. In terms of burying the dead, you said they were found in a cave. Were they using the cave as a tomb, or did they like physically dig holes
No,
and put?
they were using the cave as a tomb. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was a tomb. They dragged their deceased member into the cave, away from predators, away from, because the water, it was completely undisturbed. That's what's surprising about the burial. There was an active burial. It wasn't just throwing them down into a hole like Heidelbergensis did in Spain. The Cueva de los Osos, the cave of bones, or the Silla de los Huesos, the cave or the of bones, where they have Neanderthals, Heidelbergensis, and us. So basically, bones were just thrown into that cave. But this ones, they dragged them into those chambers. And surprisingly, fact number 3, you don't have one. We have a saying that no 2 or 3. The third time lucky. Yeah, that's the one. They analyzed the craniums of Naledi, and they found that the frontal lobe are a smaller, sort of, not completely exactly the same, but enough similarities to our own frontal cortex, which they believe, who's the biologist, anthropologist that studied the biology of and the anatomy of these hominins, they may have spoken.
Really?
Yes, they may have communicated with advanced verbal communication. I'm not saying talking like we do, but
No. But conveying basic thoughts and ideas to speak.
yeah, this brain capacity, the cranial capacity, was only 500 and a bit cc's, cubic centimeters. Less than half of what ours is. Kaboom! That just when I read that, and not just me, when the studies came out, I've been following archaeologists. They went, whoa! God,
I can imagine.
damn it.
I mean, speech is one of our most unique traits. To hear of another creature communicating at least basic ideas through a choreographed sound pattern is fucking amazing.
Yep. So that's we sort of went off a bit of track of what we're doing, but I think this was interesting as well. So I always love going back to the town. And now the dogs. What they found that they looked like our modern more or less modern Huskies. But read here, they found there was also a remaining dog, a putative wolf dog hybrid, which weighed around 29 kilograms and may have been similar to the Alaskan Malamute. I don't know what that dog looks like, by the way, the Alaskan Malamute, which is a good sled dog. Okay, it says here, typically weighing between 20 and 25 kilos.
Oh, okay. So it was about 50% bigger.
A little bit, yeah, yeah. And here we have the skull one. This do you see this little? This is a measuring direction and get more or less orientation. If you take a photograph in archaeology, you have to put this on, this little marker thing. Gets you the scale of how big the skull was.
I know.
Right?
The Alaskan Malamute is a. It looks very similar to a husky, except I didn't see any of those like really cool blue eyes. That seems to be the only difference I could see cosmetically.
Really cool. And so yeah, we have here the skull. They are. What else does it say? Yeah, the closest example. This it is. If this is indeed breeding program, we were earliest evidence of dog breedings from any purpose, right? This is because they, from back here, the dogs of this size were big enough to pull sleds. Yet we don't. Yet they wouldn't overheat the larger dogs. So they were sled dogs. Probably bred the smaller dogs for sledding, and bred the larger ones to hunt the polar bears. So you see the two different types of breeds. From one was slightly larger to hunt, etc. The other one was for pulling. The difference. That's the evidence we have for actual breeding, selective breeding. This is GMOs in action, natural GMOs.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define natural. I mean, humans guiding their genetic.
Natural. Not introducing foreign DNA material using splicing methods and all that shit. That's what I mean. Natural.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But not natural. So yeah, but it's still GMO. No matter how you try it, we're just using different tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of my favorite things about humans is our when I talk about evolution and just how amazing human beings are. One of the things I talk about is, of course, dog breeding. When we saw a creature that was of no use to us, and actually a potential predator of us, and made it almost seamlessly integratable into our society, and it is an amazingly really cool thing that we figured out to do. I mean, people who couldn't even figure out how levers worked were able to pair dogs in a way to breed them to do specific tasks. It's just amazing.
It is, yeah, exactly. That's awesome. And here, to end this article, we have about 10 minutes if you want. Continue on. I said an hour. I said more or less an hour. We don't have to go to the hour, because once the subject material is covered, we will just be wasting time, really. I think about that way. But just to end what they say, that what this has found, that sheds a light on why dogs were domesticated in the first place. Yeah, it brings us a question. Why did we domesticate dogs? What was the benefit? Because we, the humans, hunter-gathering societies, didn't do things just for the sake of doing things. They did it for a purpose. It had to be beneficial to the tribe, to the group of that they lived in, because it would mean death to them if they made a mistake. Bringing in dangerous animals into your lair as pups, they grow up, they can attack back. They can become feral again. It's not a natural. You find the pup, oh cute. He grows up into a big dog that'll rip your throat out if you strike him badly.
Yeah, well, I think what I think happened, and I've read this in a few of my layman sources, so I don't know how. Just theories. Um, the wolves would follow human tribes around because for two things: one, protection, because anything that's going to attack the humans could potentially attack the wolves, and humans were really good at defending themselves. They had those sweet tools, and it probably just became a slow integration process, just like, they were next door neighbors and started working together until we essentially figured out how to make them more or less our tools, just another form of tool adaptation.
Yes, absolutely. You are correct. That's one of the most um, accepted hypothesis, because, like it says here, it's that they haven't. There's no real consensus yet. Scientific consensus is basically establishing a law. If enough climate change is happening, and it's but done by us. So if anyone's hearing, I know it's happening. The consensus is there. The 1 or 5% of scientists that say it isn't, it's like they don't matter. The statistics are there. I know it's happening. And here the same. They suggest 15,000 years ago. There's been, like I said in this before, they found evidence of 30,000, double that date. So once they've established an exact date, yes, here it is, irrefutable proof. We have the established. And what else does it say? Basically, yeah. What were you just getting back to what you were saying about the domesticated? How did they domesticate the wolves? Basically, shadowing human societies. Protection, yes, and also for food.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because as it says in your article there, dog to be used to hunt smaller prey. Really hard to hit a rabbit with a spear. Really, really hard for a human to chase down a rabbit. But if you have a hunting dog, much easier.
But I'm talking about pre-domestication. Look at this scenario. A group of hunter-gatherers go out. They've always been shadowed by a pack of wolves who notice patterns, because wolves are quite intelligent. They can notice patterns. Yes. They react to patterns. So they hunt some game, let's say 2 or 3 giant elk. I'm talking about Europe, just saying the scenario. A couple of elk, giant elk, which they would have been 200 kilogram, more than 200 kilogram animals. They butcher them on the side, get the best cuts, and leave the rest back there, because they were Homo sapiens. They think that we outcompeted the Neanderthals because we only chose the best, most nutritious cuts of the animal. We discarded the least nutritional things, while the Neanderthals would have probably done opposite. They wouldn't have been as efficient in catching as butchering the animal. It's a possibility. So what remains there? The carcass and lots of meat still. The wolves, of course. Over the time.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add that the wolves could have put the less nutritious bits to use, because wolves they use less calories in a day than we do. So what's not as nutritious to us is a banquet to them.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, exactly. Now, then after that goes on for many generations. This is not just a yearly thing. You have to look at a long scale time zone, long scale. Say after 1,000, 2,000 years of interacting that way, some of the wolves would have considered us part of, not just part of it, but sort of not very they wouldn't have considered us as competitors or another wolf pack that they would have had to, but sort of allies. Let's say, okay, a brave wolf, alpha wolf, would have approached slowly an encampment of us, and the humans would have seen, no, this guy's brave. He's not violent. Oh God, what's that word? He's not
Aggressive.
aggressive. Thank you, man. Thank you. Aggressive to us, and they sort of befriended a sort of a respect, because wolves can operate that way. The society's like that. The alpha wolf, the beta wolves, they have this behavior to appease the alpha male, so they can approach. I can see that scenario of even beta wolves, not just the alphas, or not even the alphas. Some beta male wolves approaching, and the humans would have thrown them a bone or something and fed that way. That's a possibility of how the very, 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 very early domestication could have occurred. It's only a possibility. I'm not saying that it's exactly, because I don't have proof of that, and I don't have physical evidence. We don't have evidence. We don't have archaeological evidence for that. So yeah. Well, I think we covered this.
Yes, sir.
So just to conclude, by 9,000 years ago, that's 6,000 BC, or 9,000 before the present era, which is, by the way,
that would be 7,000 BC.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. Yes,
Yes, sir.
My math is crap. That's why I went into archaeology.
Yeah, I wasted quite a bit of time studying that stuff.
Thank you. No, my math. I knew that BCE is 1955. That's when it was established. Do you know why?
I don't think it had anything to do with the atheists, but
no, radiocarbon dating.
Ah.
Up until before 1955, I can't remember the two physicists that developed the radiocarbon dating. So they established that as before present era, before current era, and that's 1955. It's basically what's that? An arbitrary date. They could have established it on a calendar, but they said that's radiocarbon dating. Before that, we didn't know how to date. Now we know how to date. So yeah, which was the first dating method, by the way, a radiometric method. Then they went on to thermoluminescence, uranium, thorium, what's the other one? There's many other radioactive decay models that you can use to establish dating. So that's just a bit of. So we've ended here. Marty, please shield your channel and so on.
I am Martius Filius. I do content based primarily around free speech and political opinion with splashes of historical and scientific data. That sounds like your kind of thing. Please stop by and say hi. And if you like my content, please throw a sub. I've been limited to live streams as my Adobe account lapsed. So, but I will get back to making regular content hopefully soon.
And also, anyone that's listening after this and that, continue to donate to Martius's PayPal, because we should help our fellow people, our friends.
Yes,
yes, our brothers.
I am good for the next few days with what I've managed to e-beg for, but that will probably lapse within a few days. But you know what? I am very grateful for everything I've been given. If I have to go without for a few days, you know, it's not the end of the world.
Please help. Please, a little bit. I am ashamed to say that I can't, because my credit cards at the moment is reached the limit. So, oh God, I wish I feel ashamed of saying this. I'm sorry, Marty.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Oh man, Anyway, thank you all for coming on. I'm really thinking of doing another stream this week. I'll let you guys know because I've built up a small database of articles that came out this week that some are interesting, some are a bit covering back what I've already talked about, but I will let you know if I can see a spot where none of the big guys are streaming. I'll do one. Okay, guys. Always for 1 hour. It's enough. So thank you for coming on. Thank you, Marius. It's an honor having you on as always.
The honor is all mine.
And we end the broadcast.